Here with Coach Boynton in the midst of the month of January, an important road stretch for Oklahoma State, an important stretch period. When we get to this time of year, everything matters. And so as you think about where you stand right now, what's happened in conference play, I mean, the reality is you could easily be sitting here undefeated in league play. What's your biggest takeaway as you think about the first couple of weeks of conference play?
Well, my takeaway is we got to make sure we're focused on today and taking it one game at a time. You can't get caught up in the whole because it can be overwhelming to the players. It can be overwhelming to the staff. And what we've got to do is make sure we're focused on getting better today. And if we focus on getting better today, then the rest will take care of itself. Because the only way you have success is if you prepare well. In this league, you can play well and still lose. Now, that has not yet happened to us other than at Kansas, but these other games we've done things that have been self-inflicted where we just didn't give ourselves the best chance. And turnovers has been a big key. So our focus is clearly on limiting our turnovers to give ourselves the best chance to get to a victory through our offense a little bit more.
When you talk about the turnovers, how do those happen and what corrections can you make?
Well, some of them are just kind of just mindless mistakes, like the backcourt violation we had the other day. We knew we had to get the ball across, but then C5 Caleb Asberry thought the ball was across and just kind of flipped the ball behind him. That's a kind of a mindless play, And then there are others where the defense does force it, whether they're trapping or taking a charge, that we got to be a little bit more conscious because when you turn the ball over in this league, they lead to easy baskets. And we've done a really good job of stopping teams from scoring when we've had our defense set.
How did you feel about the quality of shots you got at K-State? And I think back to the beginning of the second half, for example. I want to say of roughly maybe your first 16, 17 shots, 12 were at the rim. Unfortunately, you didn't shoot a high percentage on those shots. But have you been, how satisfied have you been, I guess, with the quality of the shots you've been getting?
Yeah, we've gotten good shots, and particularly against K-State, we got pretty good looks from guys who normally make them. We just had a tough shooting night overall, other than Caleb Boone and Caleb Asberry, who both made a few shots at a pretty efficient rate. We missed shots at the rim that, for instance, Tyreke Smith is a high-efficiency guy. He missed a few layups right there. Bryce Thompson, who'd been playing really well, had an off night shooting the basketball. John Michael Wright, who had been shooting the ball well, had an off shooting night. And when you have multiple guys have nights that are unusually down, it makes it difficult to overcome.
You mentioned Caleb Asberry, and he was away from the team for, a week or so when he was sick in mid-December. I think, is it safe to say what we're seeing is it takes a little bit of time for a guy to get back into his game rhythm and such, but looks like maybe Kansas State, we're starting to see that happen again for him.
Yeah, it's hard in the middle of the season to get away, especially when you're new and you're learning the system, and now you've just gotten used to playing with certain combinations of guys, and they're getting used to your game. And so the time away, which wound up being about 2.5 weeks because we also flow right into Christmas break, was certainly a missed opportunity for him to continue his growth. But now as we see him getting more comfortable with the minutes he's getting come off the bench for us, maybe it's a sign that he'll be another offensive weapon that we can use moving forward.
How's Moussa Cisse doing?
I haven't got a report yet today, but he was steadily making progress. The unfortunate part for him is his game is not predicated on skill. And so when you lose the mobility and explosiveness and being able to run and jump the way he needs to, it really makes him less effective. So he's making progress. We want to get him as healthy as possible, and hopefully we can have a chance to throw him out there on Saturday and give us a better chance to have success.
Historically, as we've headed toward the end of January and into February, your teams have improved. And then there's been an even bigger jump, perhaps more significant jump, even in late February. What usually happens with your teams that leads to that? Because that's been pretty consistent.
But one of the things is we don't change the process that we go about. We talked in the beginning about just focusing on today and not getting overwhelmed with the big picture. Well, that gives you a chance to, even in that late part of the season, when things are really kind of monotonous, the preparation, the teams you're playing for the second time, there's so much familiarity that we just focus on today and getting better ourselves. And guys get more comfortable with each other. Our staff gets more comfortable with the guys. Our rotation usually starts to shrink down, and guys are really in a pretty good groove in terms of what their minutes are going to look like. So I think it's just a matter of consistency over time that gives guys a level of comfort that they'll be able to perform at a pretty good level.
So next up, the Baylor Bears on the road. Entering the season, I believe there were 2 teams that had won twice in Waco over the previous 4 years. Kansas and your team, Oklahoma State. I mean, we're talking about a Baylor program that has done a lot of damage, including winning a national championship during that time. Let's start here. Does that matter mentally that some of your guys have gone in there and won? It's a different Baylor team, but does that matter? Is there any carryover or no?
I think there is a psychological advantage going into a building knowing you've had success there before. But their team is much different. Our team is different in a lot of ways. And so we'll have to play really well on Saturday. Probably have the best natural scorer in the league and a freshman, Keontae George. So they're playing through him a lot. Don't have as much depth of size as they've had in the past. But they have really, really efficient guards in terms of scoring. And Langston Love and Adam Flagler, Keontae George, and LJ Carias. They can put 4 guys out there who you wouldn't be surprised could get 20 to 30 points in any single game. So we'll have to be really, really dialed in defensively. But, again, the key for us is just getting our offense afloat and cut down on our turnovers.
And before we get together again, Bedlam here in Stillwater, middle of next week. You get 2 at home next week.
Yeah, a great opportunity. As we go on the road this week, obviously our main focus will be on that. But we're excited to have our students back next week for classes and getting back in the building because we've had some really good crowds and our students will enhance that. And there's nothing better than having a Bedlam game to start that off because I know everybody will be excited about the opportunity to play against our in-state rival.
So some great games coming up. That's Coach Boynton. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.